Welcome, full 2018 Speed Tech. And we have Marcus and Jana who will be presenting for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Now that we have enough time, you're welcome to take more than 5 minutes. And we will have a chance to share this recording with the rest of the world as soon as we finish. Thank you again so much for joining. Extra points and extra presentation time for you guys. So take it over. Marcus, you've been waiting, oh my God, hour and 15 minutes. We've been on the phone for hour and 15 minutes. Okay, we had a good chat and good storytelling. And thank you, Donna, for having an extra audience for Marcus. And being Marcus here, you have an audience as well. All right,
you'll actually see that I have 2 screens going.
That's good. So you're thinking to have another person, right?
Well, the reason being is that my Chromebook has the video and it will not play my PowerPoint, but I have my laptop next to me so that I could share my screen, talk about tech, right? So I figured.
But this shows how creative and critical thinking, tools that you use and you merge them together to make it work. So extra points. So you get 2 points, one for Jana on the Chromebook, one for Jana on the system. All right, perfect. Oh. You're smart. You're also getting 2 extra points.
I literally have them here. I'm like looking back and forth at myself. It's weird.
But I like the background, so thank you for putting a beautiful Christmas tree. We haven't put Christmas tree for maybe 5 years now. I'm in a very small place, and I don't keep all these ornaments anymore. I just, every time we move, we lose things. So I'm kind of like missing it. But thank you for sharing a good background. All right, Marcus, your turn. Take it over, share the screen, and inspire.
All right. So,
Jana, did you send me your PowerPoints? I can also upload it for you.
I sent you the link. I didn't send you the file yet.
That's fine. I will edit up later to the system.
Okay.
All right. So can you two see my Speed Tech thing?
Yeah. Sure.
All right. So sorry.
I just mute myself so that I don't get any background noise.
So my Speed Tech that I wanted to present on today was problem-based learning. I think that this is really something that's important because we don't really see this happen a whole lot in classrooms. So I thought that this would be a good way to kind of dip our toes into what problem-based learning is and what it looks like in the classroom. Let's see if I can figure this out. Okay, there we go. So when I looked up what the definition was for problem-based learning, this is what we came up with. And it's a student-centered pedagogy in which students learn about a subject through the experience of solving an open-ended problem found in trigger material. Okay, so that's the overarching definition of what problem-based learning is. And all it really means is that students are taking real-world problems and they are coming up with their own solutions based on their experiences, their research, and their own problem-solving pathways and processes. So just to kind of give an idea of what this could look like in the classroom, I'm going to show you what I base my problem-based learning unit in my 6th grade tech class. So this is a bridge in Lexington, New York, and it's received a poor rating over the last 2 decades or so. And my students play the roles of engineers. So they do a research-based project where they look up information about what the problem is, why this bridge has been rated so poorly. They gather information on what it is they're actually learning about through digital field trips. They go through photos. They research information online. They look up environmental factors for what has contributed to this. And what they ultimately end up doing is they start to come up with a plan for how they would solve this problem. So they develop the plan to increase how they would increase the infrastructure rating if they were the engineers assigned to this project. They come up with models, they test their designs, and then they present their solutions to an audience as to why their design would be the best solution to this problem that they've been presented with. So that's kind of what it looks like in my classroom. But I also want to talk about how we can start to bring this kind of learning into the classroom. And really one of the biggest hurdles is taking the notion of moving our role in the classroom from the teacher of the sole provider of knowledge and more to a facilitator. So we're not, us teachers aren't the ones telling students what the right answers are. Our job is to kind of guide students to do their own research, to draw their own conclusions, to find their own information about this problem. Because when we think about what we do as adults in the real world, we have to do our own research. There's no one person who is the holder of all knowledge. So we want kids to start to take responsibility and the drive to assume these roles. So the next thing we want to look at when we go to bring this into the classroom is how do we get kids engaged? And the easiest way for kids to get engaged is something that they can physically see or visit, or something that they have some kind of connection to. So I suggest looking at community issues or local issues that may be in the village or town or city that you live in, to really find something that the students can have an actual experience with, rather than what we see a lot of times is these problems that kind of seem disconnected from their lives. And so this community and local involvement kind of brings the kids to the center of the problem. What we also want to think out when we bring this into the classroom is how simple or complex the problem is. This is something that a lot of kids probably aren't going to be very familiar with. They're probably not going to be very confident in their own processes, or even having a teacher that doesn't always have all the answers, that can't give them one straight answer that's going to solve everything. So when we think about bringing this into the classroom, we want to bring in simple problems first and start to scaffold the students' process and abilities so that we can work towards those more complex issues. And then the other thing we want to think about is getting the kids to put themselves into the project. So thinking about what kinds of roles can students assume in this project? What can they do? What could someone what kind of problems could someone who would someone go to if they had a problem that they needed a solution from? So in my example, the state or the city would go to local or government engineers to solve this problem. So putting the students in that role really gives them a lot more responsibility, and it creates better engagement with what they do with these problems and how they come up with these solutions. And why we would do this, it really makes a lot of sense why we would bring problem-based learning when we think about what problem-based learning is. As adults, we have our own problems that surround hobbies and work. And so the skills that we're using, why wouldn't we bring that into the classroom? Why wouldn't we bring a real world problem to kids so that when they leave school, they're prepared for an employer or where they notice a problem that they already have the skill. They've been involved in the process. They have the experiences in open-ended problems that don't necessarily have one answer to them, or the answer to it isn't clear. When we also think about problem-based learning, the information, since kids are involved in the process, they're working on their own problem-solving process. They're not necessarily following a set of steps or instructions that someone else has laid out for them how to think. That information is going to stick with them a lot longer since they were involved every single step of the way. They discovered the problem. They went through the process themselves. They came up with a solution, and they're validating their experience in explaining their process and why they made certain decisions through the problem. We also see that problem-based learning is really differentiated because it plays on what students have as strengths rather than focusing on one particular skill, which may not be a student's strength. It may be something, so math and science may not be a strength for someone, but if they decide to approach a problem focused around language, they're using a learning strength that they have in order to go through this problem rather than trying to force kids through one mode of learning. Like I brought up before, there's more engagement in the education and their problem-solving process. So kids really start to take a personal role in their learning. They start to take responsibility for their own learning because they start to see that, oh, this is something that I'm going to use for the rest of my life. I'm going to be presented with problems. All the world is problems. And how do we come up with solutions to those problems? And the last thing about problem-based learning is we look for, it creates the interpersonal skills that we're looking for in adults. So working together in teams, using the strengths of others to solve our own problems, coming to others when there's something that we don't necessarily know or need help on. How do we communicate with people and communicate what we're having difficulty with or don't understand? And how do we make sense of that from someone else to our own learning? So it really helps kids to think about what their learning process is, how it relates to someone else's learning process, and then how you can work with another person in order to come up with a solution. So when thinking about bringing project-based learning into the classroom, there's just a couple of things I wanted to touch on to just keep as a reminder. It is complex, it's messy, it's not necessarily something that's going to work right the first time around, and that's okay. It's a learning process. There's a lot of responsibility put on to the students, and so we want to see them go through that problem-solving process, whether they make mistakes a lot, because they're going to make them anyway. So why not make them in a positive way that's going to help them grow, rather than in a place where it's going to actually have harm. Research and resources is something that we want to rely on. We're not the sole providers of information. We don't know everything as teachers. We can't know everything as teachers. So making sure that kids know how to do research and find resources that can help them in solving their problem is an important step in understanding problem-based learning. And then starting small, starting with simple problems that have multiple solutions, but are simple solutions, maybe something that kids already know how to do or have experience with. So in the middle school, maybe organization, organizing their locker room, coming up with a schedule that can help them manage their time a little better. So taking these small steps before they start to really assume these roles of for a problem that may not necessarily have an answer yet. And that it's a learning process. It's something that is going to grow. The process is going to change. There's always something to add or rethink or rework. And that this is a good thing because that's how problems work. It's a growth process. It's not a one size fits all. So that's problem-based learning. This is me. That's my lovely wife, Melissa. My background is technology and engineering education, K through 12. I went to CCSU in Connecticut, and I worked at Irvington Middle School in Irvington, New York.
Thank you so much, Marcus.
Thank you.
Jana, do you have any suggestions, comments, questions?
Well, I love when you said that it looks messy, because I always say that 9 times out of 10, if somebody walks by my room, they're gonna think, "Oh my goodness, what's going on in there? The kids are not sitting at desks. They're up. They're standing up. What are they doing? They're throwing things around the room," because I teach physics. So it's like, but they're learning and they're making mistakes, and not necessarily that we ever want our students to fail, but how are they going to improve if maybe they're not right the first time around? Yeah. So, I'm not saying that I want my students to fail, but maybe not do it perfect the first time, so that we can talk about how they're going to improve something, which brings in those skills that you were talking about, with project-based learning. So at this age, it's like they're all like little grade grubbers, I call them. And I'm like, it's okay to have your claim not be right, or to find out something along the way that makes you change your mind and want to go back to that first step. So really cool. I'm all for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's okay to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with having something messy or having
Mm-hmm.
something not work out. That's kind of how things go when you're an adult. Things don't work out. So how do you move forward from that? How do you what steps do you take from, running into a roadblock? How do you continue? You can't just stop.
Yeah.
You have to go forward.
But I really like that you're bringing in like something that's local and something that's like real, not like these hypothetical things like that you said sometimes don't connect to them, and they don't really see, their own reason for doing something like that. But bringing it in and making it real is kind of, I think, a way to connect to them and get them more engaged.
Yeah, I do. And I think about, a lot of the things that come up about, well, what do you do with project-based learning? How do you come up with problems? And, there's problems everywhere. You just have to look, walk around town, or, just kind of look at like local newspaper, like what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's bound to be something. So it's really easy to find something that students can really find a connection with, and something that they can physically see or go visit or do a tour or even a virtual tour, that it does make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
When I presented this project to kids, you know, they kind of looked at me like, wait, we're doing what? People drive over this every day? Why haven't they done anything about it? And like they started to get really personal about it, and you know, they got really involved because it was about, you know, they were coming up with the solution.
Hmm.
It wasn't somebody else's.
A lot of times with the science, especially in middle school, we you know, there are a lot of those like cookie cutter labs. So what I'll do is I'll remove like the instructions and I'll lay out a ton of materials on the front lab table, and I'll say, okay, well, you know, you have, you know, the rest of the period today to plan out what you're going to do tomorrow. And certain groups will choose different things, and in the end some of them will have good results, some won't, and then I have those kids go back and talk to the other ones and try to like figure out maybe what they could do to improve it, because I think that, you know, what you and I both do is like the STEM, you know what I mean? We're really tying to get together and putting in that engineering where,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, they're not going to go out and build a bridge, but it really is about how are they going to like step back and improve upon ideas from each other as well.
Right.
That's a good connection too.
Yeah, you know, it's important to look at the process,
Yeah,
you know, and for them to really take a look at their own process rather than, you know, hey, here's the steps, go for it. You know, this is what you got to do step by step by step. And, you know,
Well, and some of it is messy.
yes, I'm working on a project now for my car, and I literally had electronics explode in the car. So it can get messy.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well done. Thank you so much. And now, Jonah, would you like to
Try to get this to go.
yes, yes. And you can unshare. Now stop sharing, Marcus, so she can share her screen.
How
It should
do
be
I
a
do?
red button.
Oh, there it is. It's up at the top. Okay. Okay, there we go.
Thank you. And I heard a lot of clicking in the background. I thought first it was Jana. I muted her, but
No.
it was you, Marcus. Something.
It was me?
Yeah, because it was the only one that not muted, and I can't mute you, so something like in the background was keep ticking. I don't know, Jana, did you get the same?
Not really, no.
Okay, good. Maybe it did not record it at all. Okay, so I would like to learn some density today.
Okay, good. So I'm assuming you can see the screen that's on my other device over here.
Yep, and I am muting myself, so I don't get.
If I start looking this way, it's because I'm working, not because. Okay, so one of our projects, one of the main projects for the class that I'm in right now was to use PowerPoint as an interactive. You know, really get the kids utilizing the technology that's available to them. And again, piggybacking off of what you said, Marcus, is kind of really just being the facilitator and allowing the students to take control of their own learning process and at the speed at which, you know, they would decide to do so. So kind of, they're really, and even with this project, there were directions, there was help, but it wasn't like you had to do this, you had to do that. We were really given the freedom of whatever it was that we wanted to choose to do, to present. So I like that. One thing I'm not sure if it's going to work or not is my audio, because it's on that. So I will let you know where there is a little bit of audio in there. I didn't put too much audio because after I had two colleagues run this program for me before today to see which devices it worked on, and it did not work on the Chromebook, hence the reason for my other device. And the students will be using the desktops in the computer lab on Tuesday. So I thought, what a great opportunity for me to take this time to show my program at what I feel like is its final version, to get some feedback on maybe places that I can improve on before I have them do it. we always teach density at the beginning of chemistry when we introduce chemistry as like physical and chemical properties, where measurements and volume, mass have to go before density. This is kind of the mass and volume part is a slight review, but it's always good to reinforce that because there's a break in between when we start mass and volume and then come back to density. So the mass and volume is really something they've already had, where density is completely new. So this is the PowerPoint that I had created, and hopefully it will go. Let's see. All right, good. Are you, there you go. Okay, there's a little bit of like backlash here, so I'm actually not gonna try to look at this screen. So I wanted to give a little bit of personality to it, so I put my own face on there. I thought the kids not only would find that funny, but you know, it would be a little entertainment for them. Right off the bat on the main screen, I disabled anything, so they're not allowed to use, and none of the arrows work. So they really are directed with just their mouse on what they're able to click. And if you saw, this came sliding in to guide them to click on start the lesson. They also could click on the credits and see, you know, where I've given due to the images and videos that I have used. They also can just jump right to math, volume, and density, but again, with just a little bit of facilitating, I'm going to encourage them to start the lesson and just go through this page by page. So they would click here to start, and here's just a little bit of the instructions. It just tells them what they're gonna do and what some of the buttons allow them to do. Next page, which they're all familiar with. Home button brings them back to the home screen that we were just on, and the information button will bring them back to here. At the bottom, I've also reminded them to click on certain objects, to go through the questions, look at the how-tos before taking the final step, which is going to be the quiz. Now, this is the first time I've ever made the PowerPoint interactive. So not to say that I don't use technology, but this is the first time I've ever used this program to really lead a topic like this, to just jump off with the topic. So what I'm doing is I teach 5 classes. One is more than 50% of the population is special ed. So I teach that completely different. You know, my pedagogy and everything is nowhere near my other 4. So what I've decided to do is to present this to 2 of my classes, and then my other 2 classes, unfortunately, maybe I'll let them do it as a review later on, and I'm going to have them take the same assessment at the end so that I can effectively gauge and say what was the overall effectiveness for the students of using this program. Okay, so everything you see I've pretty much created except for the images placed in there, or the videos. I created the images too. Okay, so they start off, and there is a little music that goes ding 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 ding. you can't hear that. So if they were to just skip to this, you would see that they wouldn't have gotten anything from math. Well, they need to go back. I gotta wait. They have to go back and they have to click on what is math. This tells them what it is. It gives them a visual, and there is a little like audio in the background as well there. So again, this is something that they already did. It gives them the text, the definition, and once again, to reinforce for the visual learners something to compare to. There is no going on button because I want them to go back and investigate how to measure math. So to save time, I'm not going to click on the video. It's about a 3-minute video, and it shows them. Also, it wasn't working for some of my peers in the class, which was weird. I'm wondering if they were just using maybe like a Mac or a different device. But so I also gave the link here just in case. But on the devices at school, granted, you just click it and it plays automatically. And it's a 3-minute video on how to use a triple beam balance, which again is just reinforcement. So it says 1, watch the video, then click on practice. So they would go to practice. They would see my little illustration here. And now they're presented with practice choices. So being able to read the triple beam balance is not only essential for completing many of the tasks in science, it's also on the New York State Intermediate Science Assessment every year. Every year. It's always there on one of the lab skills that's required of the students. So let's just say that they were unable from the video, and let's say so this would be 100 plus 40, so it would be 142 grams, not 140.2, but let's just say they click that. It would say, sorry. They could go back. It goes red on the ones that they've already chose. And now, I mean, obviously with only 2 answers, they would get the correct for on that one. When they return, they would come back here, see that they've already completed the steps, and move on to volume. Now, here's what I was having trouble with, and again, why I'm doing this today, is when I first come to volume, the basketball will bounce in and the dice will roll in. But even playing with some of the settings, I don't know how to restart that for the second time that this slide is shown. So I'm not sure. I've tried to look it up and I just can't enable it to restart on the second time volume comes on to have the basketball bounce in and the dice roll in. But they would follow the prompts again the same way. What is volume? The same kind of thing happens the first time you go to that image. They are reminded that the definition of volume and that there are 2 ways, 2 different methods to solve for volumes of different objects. One being a regular shaped object, which has nice sides like the dice, and the other one being something round like a basketball, a marble, a rock, and how they would go about doing that. Again, no option over here to the right to continue, so they go back. How they measure the volume of a regular object. They could click the video, and again, my audio is not working, so there it is. But they would watch that. It's a short one. You can see this one's only a minute long. You know, you don't want to draw them out too much or they just won't want to continue. Again, watch video, click practice. I have repetition on the page for my 8th graders that I feel like that consistency is nice there for the mass and the volume and the density. They're going to do 2 things, you know, on each. They would go to their practice, a little animation here, reminding them again what was just shown in the video on how to measure the volume of regular objects using length times width times height. And they'll also be given scrap paper, should they need. Some of the students like to be able to jot things down and things like that, and they will have a calculator. So by going through, they can click on certain ones, and when they come back, they can get it's directed. And I only made 2 slides, one correct, one incorrect, and I was able to link all of the slides appropriately. Again, no option. And our last one, how do you measure irregular? Irregular is water displacement. They could watch the video and then go to practice, and it shows them again. Water displacement is taking how much water was displaced and measuring the volume that way, where 200, the difference between these two.
75 milliliter.
Yes. And if you were to select that, you would be correct. So they can go back to volume and see that they've hit all of the top boxes and advance to density. Here there is a sound right here where when the density stops spinning, I remind them that the way to calculate density is mass divided by volume equals density. That's just my voice coming in. And again, what is density? Some visuals for my visual learners, text to reinforce the topic. This is where all of the new stuff really is. And we just got done talking about solids, liquids, and gases. So it's a nice way to go into like the phase changes, the states of matter, leading us into this other physical property of density. Calculate density. I gave them the equation again and steps. First the mass, then the volume, which is why I put math first, then volume. But now we're doing a calculation. So to practice, I'm asking them to click on the calculator, which brings them to 2 density practice problems where, again, they'll have scrap paper and they'll be able to go through. So the first one is pretty easy. You can probably do that one in your head. 25 divided by 5 is 5. But if you see here, I also mixed up the units because the units are important. If we go back, you'll see that the units are presented up here where mass always has to be on top and the centimeters cubed on the bottom. So here, and they would select which one they would want. So sorry. Now here's another thing I'm not able to do. Do you see how I clicked on the top one? And then I come back a second time and all of them have turned red except for the correct answer. So I've got 2 things that I can't really kink out. One was how to replay my animation for the basketball and the dice. And the other one is to how to fix this, where if they do select the wrong one first, other choice is kind of just given to them, which is 5, and it tells them yes, they're correct. So those are my 2 areas of where I'm just a little unsure. I've looked it up, I've asked others, and I can't seem to get it. Same thing over here, right? We would go through them. They would figure out which one was correct and move on. And it says click the arrow for the quiz. You've completed it. Good luck. Quiz time. This is going to be the quiz that all 4 classes are going to take. And because I use a Google form, it'll be very nice and give me those statistics at the end so that I'm able to just kind of really quick also gauge how effective was this for the students that used it versus the ones that didn't. Sorry, that might go. Hold on. Okay. And the quiz that they go to, for some reason on my home laptop, I believe because it's the school issued one, it takes a really long time for it to come up. So, and it's not showing over here. That's weird. Let's see. And you're not, because I can see it on here, you're not able to see the quiz that just popped up.
You can go back and reshare.
Reshare.
Stop sharing and reshare.
Stop share. I see that up there. Up, yeah?
Yep, and then go back and share just the quiz.
Okay.
You may have just selected earlier screen of the PowerPoint.
Okay. This is all new. So this is great. I'm learning all of this stuff.
Because
okay.
Zoom allows you to select what you want to share in what level.
Okay. Let's see. So then I come back here and I do share. Oh, there it is. And this is the quiz that each of them will take, all of the students. I've incorporated, because Google Forms really is kind of just a lot of multiple choice, but I did want to incorporate the visual element as well with adding some pictures. So they're asked, all of this is reinforced from the interactive. And this is very identical to the assessments that I have used in previous years as well. So it's not anything too different, which is, I think, good because the interactive also reinforces what I've done in the past for this type of topic. Just now we're adding that interactive technology like point of it. Okay. But that was wordy. Sorry, I feel like I took a long time. But that is what I have. So let me see. I might be able to go back.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I will look into those 2 questions you have to see if I can figure out, because it looks like there's a bug in the system. It's not supposed to do that.
With the clicking, right? With the clicking on the choices and then coming back and having them either look like they were already clicked on. Yeah, that's the one thing I couldn't do. And I was able to get the fly-in objects to reset, but not when they bounced in. So I'm not sure if that's something I have to look at in terms of like clicking the entire animation and looking at the animation pane, but.
And
So
go ahead.
I might have something for, and I don't know if you had done this for the bounce in, but what I noticed is if you have it like go to the position off screen before anything else happens, if you go back to it, it should reset, I think.
So you can see how I have them off so that when they do click on it, they all kind of like come in.
Yeah, so like your first two animations would be, have the basketball go to the place off screen first.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So like even though they're there, the computer is saying like go here anyway.
See, it does it the first time, but then if I click off and then go back,
Yeah. I feel like I had something similar in, yeah, let me see.
Make any sense?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So how picture 6 and picture 2 have the animations to bounce. Have the fly in or whatever animation you would have to that place off screen first. Like go to.
Okay. I see what you're saying. All right. I'm clearly not going to do that right now. But yeah, no, thank you. That's definitely something I did not try. I kept messing with like the timing, and then I would try to have it like repeat. That didn't either. It just kept on like flying in and flying out, and then the ball wasn't bouncing. So I was like, other than it looking like really crazy, I figured I'd just leave it like that one.
But overall, this is amazing. You've done.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it looks great.
Job. The only thing I'm thinking about this, like we have to go back every time to volume, measurement, and then go next. I was wondering if we can put them, like, it may also help you with the animation too. You can copy this page, and then first, what is volume? And then when you go to the next one, it shows what is volume and the next question. And then the third one goes all the questions. So they have to linearly go and make sure they hit all of them. I'm not sure if it's a strategy that you can think it may work. But then,
yeah, I mean, this is also as easy as like what I could do is I could save it as this way, give it to one class, do it, save it, give it to the other class, and then I could even have more data to compare.
Oh my God, we're thinking like a researcher. Now we're making experimental research here. That's awesome.
Because I mean, just copy, to save it as one file, I wouldn't touch it the way it is now, and then I could just save it as another name, give it to the second class, and just, switch up this page and see which, I could say,
Or even give it to your kids to figure out the problem.
Yeah, there you go. I like putting it out. That makes it easier for me.
I love it. See, that's the problem-based learning.
Yeah, there you go, right? I know, perfect.
Thank you so much for both of you. You guys are amazing. And as you know, even if you miss anything from the class, you have plenty of extra points to fill it in. And since you presented today, you do not have to present again. However, if you do, we will, be happy to celebrate your projects with the rest of the class. So I listed the class times, and I know the system is so weird. It doesn't allow me to, I guess, allow. So I'm going to invite everyone individually to that page. I don't know why it's have that bug, but please feel free to send me if you're have a problem with linking your requested time to present. But thank you for presenting today. You're off the hook. Enjoy, I guess, the rest of the classwork. And I wish you the best wedding, Jana. And
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going tonight, and then it's my husband's best friend's sister that's getting married. So.
Okay. Have a wonderful time. Enjoy.
One other thing,
company.
When I started sharing this with my two other colleagues, who I'm kind of biased, so I stuck with the science department. We're actually working now on we're working on a Jeopardy PowerPoint for our midterm that we can all share and.
Keep that in mind, because that's your next semester 695 class, right?
So then technically I'm going to do it next semester, right? Not today. You didn't hear that.
Yeah. So you will, that shows your leadership skill to coaching skills for your practicum. Actually, we have now a discussion with the Vancouver campus. They would like to separate the practicum into 3 semesters, as opposed to giving all 50 hours in one semester. So we are now in the discussion. So if you have any feedback on that, like, because we tell the students, sorry, you only can get credits if you do it 50 hours within that semester.
Which is a lot. Which
is a lot, because some students actually have a chance to do it right before the semester starts in August. I started to give people, yes, okay, get the signature accordingly type of advice. But some students do it throughout their program. So why limit them the last 30 or 50 hours, the last minute? So that's a dialogue that's in the making. And if you have any suggestions, please feel free to send it to us.
I agree with that. I think being able to accumulate over the semester, over your program is very good. Maybe not until you complete, certain introductory courses.
Maybe not the first semester, but definitely starting in so they want to divide it to 3 semesters. And I said, fine, that's a good idea, because their system is a little bit different in Vancouver than us. Mm-hmm. And they invited me this summer to live in Vancouver and teach in person. So I'm so excited. And my daughter got a job in internship in Seattle. So who knows, maybe I'll have a chance to see my daughter for a weekend too. That's very exciting.
Yeah, I think having it over a couple of semesters would be good, because there were a lot of things that I'd been involved with and doing at my school.
Could have been.
That, like this past summer, I went to a training for adding new curriculum, and I've been on the technology board for the last, or not the board, but technology committee for the last 4 years, and
and that's an accumulative project that should have counted, right? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it wasn't anything pertaining to any of the courses, but it was information that we have used from the program.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but don't change that yet, because that's my last class and I need to.
No, any change takes a long time, believe me, because it has to go through committees to get it.
Yeah, I know.
And also we need to hear from every stakeholder, right? Yeah. And more students. That's why whatever you write or send it to us, that will give me the support.
I think that's a great idea, though.
Yeah.
I'm already freaking out. Like, how am I going to do 50 hours?
Okay, here is something just for you. Now that you're here, you got an extra point, right? So if you, this is one thing that happened yesterday. One of the students said, maybe Marcus said that too. Is it okay if I use this towards my practicum hours? Because technically I'm presenting. Oh, that was Donald yesterday. And I said, that was you too? Okay. So I agree. I think if you come back, because both of you are now my keynote speakers for the next spring 2019 version of Speed Tech. Hopefully this time I want to be in the city and in nice weather. So you're welcome to come back. And that hours that you present and preparation for presentation also counts towards your practicum hours. So if you need it, and I'll be happy to sign up for that hours for you.
So
And
I also had
can we just close the session so that I can answer your, because now it's like technically we're done with SpeakTech.
Okay.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you for listening. So I will now stop the recording and open up discussions for the classwork.